What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing an update to what I consider to be a classic deck these days, and that is of course Burning Abyss. Now Burning Abyss got some sub-support in Duelist Advance. Now that came in the form of a TCG exclusive being the Mutiny cards. So skip ahead so you can see what they are. So you got the Yugioh, the Dawn's Light, which works itself into the Mutiny into the sky, which then gets you into a fusion monster which allows you to basically utilize it as a 3800 boss monster, and then there are some additional effects that these cards are going to provide the Burning Abyss strategy, and in general just the theme styles. So when you can consider it to go against with Dark Worlds, it can work with Yubels, it can even work with Dream Mirrors, which I thought was absolutely amazing. So it's kind of like this really cool common engine you can pick up in Duelist Advance that can work in all of these strategies, but there's some added benefits for Burning Abyss, and I thought I would show you an updated profile for the control version I did like over a year ago now. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving headfirst into the profile, we'll start off with the Burning Abyss monsters, being with 3 Seer, backed up by 3 Graph. Now, these are your main Burning Abyss monsters for the main deck, in my opinion. Now, the reason for that is they both have, or all Burning Abyss monsters have, 2 effects. So if you're unfamiliar with the Burning Abyss strategy and how they kind of work, is that you can only use one or the other effect per turn. So if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster, destroy this card. But on top of that as well, you can only use one of the following effects per turn. If you control no spells or traps, you get to special summon this card from the hand. But if this card is sent to the grave, you get to special summon a Burning Abyss monster from the deck. So that's Graph's effect. Seer has the exact same destruction effect, has the exact same reveal effect. But this one, if it is sent to the grave, you get to revive a Burning Abyss monster back from the graveyard. So you can kind of see how both of these cards are going to be there to help you facilitate your kind of combos and facilitate your board presence. Then we have 2 of the Farfar. So again, the exact same reveal effect, the exact same destruction effect, but this effect, when it is sent to the graveyard, lets you target one of your opponent's monsters on the field and banish it until the end phase. So it's your disruptor. Then we have Skarm. So Skarm is during the end phase. If it is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you get to add a Fiend Dark monster from the deck to the hand, except itself during the end phase. Then we have the 1 Alec. So if this card is sent to grave, you get to target a face-on monster on the field and negate its effect, so this becomes another disruptor during your opponent's turn. You've got the 1 Libic, and if it's sent to the grave, you get to special summon a level 3 Dark Fiend-type monster from the hand, but you negate its effects, which is really important because then it means they can't self-destruct themselves, and you only negate their effects while on the field. So when they get sent to the graveyard, you'll be able to trigger their graveyard effects, which is really important. And then we've got the 1 Kagna. So if this card is sent to grave, you get to send a Burning Abyss spell or trap from the deck to the grave. Now you can choose not to play this card if you want to. The reason behind playing this one is we are playing Transaction Rollback, and being able to send, wherever it may be, the Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss to the graveyard could be really useful to be duplicated with Transaction Rollback, because then you don't need to send 2 face-up Burning Abyss monsters, you just get to target up to 3 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. The final Burning Abyss monster that I like to play is the 1 Rubik. Now, there is a really specific reason for playing Rubik. Other than that, you probably don't even need to play it. But this one is different to the other Burning Abyss monsters, because if you control a monster that is not Burning Abyss, you still destroy it. It can't be used as synchro material except for a synchro summon of a Burning Abyss monster. And if you control no spells and traps, you get to special summon it. The difference is this one doesn't have a send effect, it is basically there as the tuner. And the reason you're going to want to utilize your synchro play is to get yourself into a Virgil. Now, we are going to like double step in here because the only real reason we want to use Virgil is that we can utilize off of the back of the fusion spell, the Cordius, the Trafix Diomon. Now, this one's kind of a cool card. It requires a Synchro, Xyz, and a Link monster to make it. But because it is a Fiend, you can utilize the Mutiny Spell Trap, the Mutiny Spell card, which lets you fusion summon a Fiend or Fairy fusion monster from your extra deck by spinning the materials from the graveyard back into the deck. So if you're able to get a Synchro to the graveyard, an Xyz to the graveyard being Dante, and a Link monster being pretty much IP, SP, or even your Burning Abyss Link monster in the form of your Cherubini, you can actually make this card. And in a control version, it's actually really kind of cool. So once while this card is fusion summoned, it's face up on the field, you get to pay life points in multiples of 2,000 to then apply one of the following effects for every 2,000 life points you paid. So you either get to add a spell or trap from the grave to the hand. If you pay 2,000 more life points, you get to destroy 3 cards your opponent controls. And if you pay another 2,000 life points, this turn this card gains attack equal to half the difference between your life points and your opponent's, but your other monsters cannot attack. Now, more times than not, you're probably just going to pay 2,000 life points to add a spell or trap back from the grave to the hand, and you're going to be able to get loads of different spells and traps to the graveyard because Dante's going to help you mill them. So really, really kind of cool and effective route to do that one, which is why we kind of like the idea of playing it, but you don't have to. Like, this is a 42 card deck, I believe, or a 41 card deck, so you can cut out the Rubik, and then you cut out the Virgil, and then that's when your extra deck will go from a 16 to a 15, and I'll talk you through the other option that I've kind of not included in the extra deck to make way for Virgil. And then, of course, the one Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss. You can still use this if you do hard see it. So you send 2 face-up Burning Abyss once you control to the graveyard. That will, of course, trigger the Burning Abyss effects. But you also get to target 3 cards on the field and destroy them. So it lets you clear off 3 for 2. Then one of your ideal starters will be Tour Guide, and the reason I'm not maxing out on Tour Guide is it's just such a target. It's such a target for an Imperm, a Veiler, an Ash, heck, even a Dominus Impulse. It's always going to get hit with something like that. If it doesn't, you're probably going to be playing, like, you've probably won the duel at that point. Like, if your opponent doesn't stop your Tour Guide, you're going to work your way into a Dante, you're going to be able to build your presence, you're going to be able to set up your spells and traps of cards, more so your trap cards, and you're going to be able to pretty much do everything you need to. So a card that I would prefer to be my normal summon over the Tour Guide, which is why I'm playing 2 and 2, is the Fiendish Rhino. Now, you don't need to rely on Fiendish Rhino as heavily now, as one of the previous effects you would utilize the Fiendish Rhino for is that Fiend Time monsters you control, except itself, can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. So once you had this card on the field, it meant that your other Burning Abyss monsters didn't self-destruct. But on top of that as well, if this is sent to the graveyard, you get to send a Fiend Time monster from the deck to the grave. So again, accept itself, but you just send a Burning Abyss and get advantage off the back of it. The last kind of control card we play before I show you the brand new cards is you play 3 Absolute King Backjack. Again, if you're not playing the control version of this deck, you don't need to play 3 King Backjack. But again, it's a Fiend monster that can be used as fusion material, and then it gets you access to all of your trap cards. And when we are playing this many trap cards, being able to utilize them off the back of the Absolute King Backjack is just insane. So now onto the brand new cards. So we're going with the 3 Yugioh, so the Dawn Lights. This card's just pretty much tailor-made for Burning Abyss. It's a level 3, it's a Dark, it's a Fiend. Like, it even looks like a Burning Abyss card. It's crazy. So monsters in your leftmost and rightmost main monster zones cannot be destroyed by card effects, including their own. So it means if you put your Burning Abyss monster to the far left and the far right, they won't self-implode as long as this card is on the field. On top of that as well, you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is in your hand, you get to target a Fiend effect monster you control and negate its effects, and if you do, special summon this card. So again, even if it's not in the far left or the far right zones, but maybe it's in the middle 3 zones, if there's a Burning Abyss monster, you target it with the Yugioh, summon this down, and negate its effects, so then it doesn't self-implode. On top of that as well, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to then add a Mutiny in the Sky from the deck to the hand. Now, the Mutiny in the Sky is the fusion spell card. You can afford to play one of this if you want to, because it does have the way to recycle it from the graveyard, but I just like the idea of even hard opening it up means I don't need to worry about it, and I can still search out another copy if I want to. So you get to fusion summon a Fiend or Fairy fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling Fiend and or Fairy monsters from your graveyard back into the deck as material. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 Fiend or Fairy monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, again, trigger off a Burning Abyss effect, and if you do, you add this card back to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn, which is absolutely fine, which is probably why you don't want to be playing 2 because you're clogging it, but it's also one of the ones where in a grind state, if I hard open this, but I've got nothing to send to bring one back from the grave, I can just activate this, get me into one of my fusion monsters, and I'm able to kind of either instigate more plays, pushing for an OTK, or just kind of slow the game pace down so that I can regain that resource. Moving on to the track cards, we are playing 3 Transaction Rollback, and the reason for this is when you're milling cards with stuff like Dante, you can duplicate any of the track cards you're going to put into the graveyard. Yes, of course, you can duplicate one of your opponent's own track cards, but you very rarely want to be doing that. You mainly want to be banishing this from the graveyard to duplicate any of the upcoming track cards that I'm going to show you. So the more important one will be Fiend Griefin. This is one you don't actually mind having set on the field. So this lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, you shuffle it into the deck, and then you send a Fiend type monster from the deck to the grave. So not only can it act as like a pseudo DD Crow by being able to put back maybe something like one of the opponent's Malice monsters that they're trying to banish, maybe you're going to be putting back the Murakumo that's probably going to be coming back to try and destroy your entire field. And again, you've got built-in protection from being hit by that card as well with some of your other Burning Abyss cards, especially if you've got Cherubini pointing to them. The best thing about it as well is if you can get the Yugioh and have Cherubini pointing to it and then Cherubini protects it, like, you're in a very good position. Other track cards we're playing is Torrential Tribute. Like, destroying your own cards is not that big of an issue because you'll trigger off all of your Burning Abyss effects and you're like, cool, we're just going to cycle back, I'm just going to send one, I'm going to banish one, I'm going to set one, whatever. 2 Karma Cut, you don't have to play Karma Cut, I just like this. The other card that people play is Dynamiscus, but you discard a card to then target face-up monster your opponent controls, so again, trigger off a Burning Abyss, but you get to banish that target, and then you get to banish all cards with the same name as that monster from your opponent's graveyard. So in a bit of a grind game, if they've got cards in the graveyard that are all of the same name, so maybe Malice White Rabbits, they would have already used the White Rabbits effect to banish and then come back, so then you'd Karma Cut them, get rid of it, and then they lose all of their White Rabbits. Not the best of options, but again, you can do like Maiden in White, you could hit Blue Eyes White Dragon, like you can kind of take away some of the core components. I do then also like to play Dark Sacrifice, and the reason I like this is when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card or cards on the field, negate the effect, and then you send a level 3 or lower Dark monster from the deck to the graveyard. So again, something about the Murakumo. Attempt to use Murakumo's effect, you chain Dark Sacrifice negates it, sends one of your Burning Abyss from the deck to the grave, you deal with that Makumo, and then that card that you send from the deck to the grave can gain you resource, or can disrupt your opponent. It just gives you a little bit more to go for. And the last card we're playing is the 1 Trap Trick, just because this can be pseudo with any of the other trap cards I've just shown you, apart from the Fire Lake. But the idea behind this one is that Trap Trick is one of the ones that you would activate it when you're going to be directly getting access to a trap card that you feel is going to turn the tide of the duel, or win you that duel at that particular point. But alternatively, ultimately, it's just another card you could cut, should you wish to. So now moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we are playing the almighty, the all-powerful, the Dante, Traveller of the Burning Abyss. So this card, most of you should know what it is, but it's generic rank 3, and then once per turn you get to detach a material from this card, choose a number from 1 to 3, then send that many cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard until the end of the turn. This card gains 500 attack for each card sent to the graveyard, and if it attacks, it gets changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. If it's sent to graveyard, you get to target a Burning Abyss card in the graveyard and add it back to the hand, but the idea is you're basically just trying to send 3 cards that will be Burning Abyss cards that will trigger effects. 1 Virgil, I've pretty much already mentioned this one. Like, if you're not going to be playing and you don't want to be playing the Cordius, which I completely understand, you would take out the Cordius. You could then afford to take out the Virgil. In place of it, I would definitely be putting in an Aerial Eater. This is just something that kind of acts like a pseudo Beatrice, and what I mean by that is it's generic, so 2 Fiend monsters with the same attribute. You make it, and then you get to send a Fiend from deck to the grave. But honestly, I've omitted it from this particular list just because I wanted to trial out these 2 cards, and that's pretty much the reason behind it. Another reason that the Fiend fusion spells is so good is you can actually fusion summon Dante Pilgrim of the Burning Abyss, which is pretty funny. So this requires 3 Burning Abyss monsters with different names. It must be fusion summoned and can't be special summoned by other ways. It can't be targeted by an opponent's card effect. And once per turn during either player's turn, you get to send a Burning Abyss card from your hand to the graveyard to draw 1 card. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card in your control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to send a random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. So it's not perfect. I just think it's kind of cool that we can actually summon this card right now. And then we play the 1 Lucy. Now this is the whole of the brand new card. This is the card you want to be making off the back of Mutiny more times than not, as it requires 3 Fiend and or Fairy monsters in your graveyard. Monsters in your leftmost and rightmost main monster zone cannot be destroyed by card effect. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can target 1 card your opponent trolls, send a Fiend or Fairy monster from your deck to the grave, and if you do, destroy that card. If another card or card you control is destroyed by card effect, etc. in damage step, target a card on the field and destroy it. So if you were, for example, to use the effect of this one, and you wanted to go, cool, we'll send, let's say, Seer. Seer can then bring back Farfar, for example. Farfar, as long as you don't put it in the leftmost and the rightmost column, will destroy itself. When that happens, you'll then get Farfar's effect to target a monster on the field and banish it, and then you can also trigger the Lucy effect to destroy another card. So you'll be able to like pick off multiple cards, which is really kind of cool. Then I am playing a very small DDD package of Triple D Stone King Darius, and the reason for this is you can rank it on top to go into the Divisor King Deus Machina X. Again, these are the flex spots if you wanted to change it around. For the other rank 3, we're playing the 1 number 49 Fortune Tune, and the reason for this is just the defensive option that very few can very easily get past, that lets you then go into Downward and then work your way into a Zeus, so you can constantly control the field and clear it out when you need to. Then for the 3 Link monsters, we play the 1 Cherubini, 1 IP, and 1 SP. Pretty straightforward and simple on that. They're just generic Link monsters. The Cherubini can have some additional effects by being able to protect cards from being destroyed by card effects to the zones that it points to. But then when you're putting your Burning Abyss monsters to the far left and far right, it means you can leave them on the field with your IP Masquerena. Use IP Masquerena's effect to link off with that card, sends it to the graveyard, and then you get your IP into SP. SP's effect trigger to banish, chain a Burning Abyss card in the graveyard to either revive or banish or summon or do whatever you need to. And that just acts as another line of disruption, which is really kind of cool. So that's pretty much it for the entire updated profile. I do like the idea that it's just like, it's just such an easy kind of, like, upgrade for the deck. Like, if you've been, I'm not saying this is going to make Burning Abyss top tier meta, like, don't get me wrong on that one. It's just something fun. It's like, wow, I get to dust off my Burning Abyss, and it actually has reason to be dusted off as well. Like, the new cards are really cool. I like what they can kind of add to the deck, and the fact that it allows you to kind of facilitate some other Fiend and Fairy fusion monsters, even though we don't have that many, and trust me, I looked, it's just kind of cool that you can, technically, if you wanted to play the Traffic Delman, you can play the Pilgrim, you can obviously play Lucy, this is like your ideal one you want to go to, but I just thought it was really kind of cool that you could utilize these cards, and I thought it'd be something a little bit different that maybe players haven't seen for a while now, and it's always kind of cool to bring Burning Abyss back into the limelight, to be like, hey, look, Burning Abyss can be played at a casual level, have a decent amount of fun with it, and these kind of new cards would then maybe, if you see this video and you're like, I'm not a Burning Abyss player, but I like theme decks, you can then start looking at stuff like Lair of Darkness, Dream Mirrors, like I've already mentioned, for a bit more fun. They could very easily work in Dark Worlds, Yubels, like any theme deck can utilize these cards because it gives you recyclability and it gives you access to just a generic fusion monster if you wanted it as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.